You know, you have to put it up over, don't put it on the table, it's standing in the kitchen, I'm trying to go like, hold on. Tears just don't come down. It's a big yeah, this one I had a surgery on, and this one's.
You want to start with,
And I was kind of hoping it was just straight.
Yeah, we can do that.
But, no, I was tired. And I didn't help you, so that's the way that goes. Right?
And you may want to just let them know. I don't know if it's like again, but we already did, you just let them know that it's a continuation of what we already did. Yeah.
No, I didn't go. No, because I'm ready to go up to you.
Yep.
And I'm gonna be selfish.
Okay, I'd like to call to order our return from recess for our special meeting. We began at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and the first portion of the meeting consisted of interviewing candidates and discussing the candidates in executive session for admin assistant. There were 3 of them that came in. No decisions were made. We broke from executive session, and then we took a recess at 6:10, and now we're just coming back from recess. So the meeting was actually called to order at 4 o'clock, so we're just starting it, continuing it right now, coming back from recess. So after that, do we have a motion on hiring an admin assistant?
Go ahead, Ty.
Yes, I would. It was actually a lot harder than I was anticipating because we had these resumes for just a little while. Reading through them, your mind kind of thinks one way, but then when we interviewed the folks, they were all very good. But I'm leaning towards one in particular, so I would move to approve Kristen Rowley as our administrative assistant.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I would like to say too that it was a very tough choice. All 3 candidates were very good and interviewed very well. Okay, moving on to the second purpose of this special meeting, which is permanent appropriations. You guys have all received copies of the auditor certificate. Ty, do you want to, we talked about fire a little bit a couple weeks ago at our February meeting in the work session, so you guys want to just start off on
Yeah,
that?
sure. Yeah, I'll start with fire. Yeah.
Well, real quick, if you don't mind, Ty, before you get into it, I did have one question, just looking over the auditor certificate. There obviously were some revisions since the initial certificate that was issued in September. But I did notice, when we talked in the planning session under other sources of revenue, that it's typically the EMS fees. But the auditor certificate came back with a significantly higher number. So I was wondering if we could get an explanation of what that 185.
Yeah, when I
It
talked
is.
to Laura, she said mainly it was EMS charges. What else jumps in there other than EMS charges?
Well, I sent you guys all the cash flow summary, and that would have mentioned what was in there. Any other revenue that we get in, so there was EMS fees, there's sometimes smaller grants that go in there. The big grants are separated out by law, but
Right.
smaller grants are in there. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
So that 184 though is anticipation of EMS fees and then any grants that we're going to receive throughout the year. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So during our work session, Chief Kavanaugh went through line item by line item expenses for the fire district and did a great job cutting down his budget to try to stay within the parameters of the revenues that we receive in a yearly time frame. So how we got there is gonna be a little bit different because, and what Justin just brought up was other revenue sources from the county is $184,957.78. Now, the taxes that the district brings in for operating brings in $612,200, but that includes the state rollback that we qualify for with that older operating levy. So that totals up to $801,157. Now, during our work session a couple weeks ago, we were a little bit higher, but not by much. It was like $482. So I just had called the chief today and said, hey, we need you to skin back about $482 and we'll be right at where we need to be to run the department. We won't have any extra, although we do have quite a bit in unencumbered balances of $845,700. So that's always good to know, but we're trying to not use that money. So the chief thinks he can run the department this calendar year with $801,157. So the way he split it was for salaries, $449,873, and then the operating expenses of the fire department is $351,284, which comes up to the 801. But also we have a couple other grants that need to be separated out. The Marks grant is $600, so that would go under expenses to help out. And then the EMS grant that he had just got for $20,000 that has to be used for payroll for EMS people only. So that goes in. And then the bond
Hey,
is.
time,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Which fund was the third one after the Marks grant that you,
The EMS, it's 2273.
I was guessing ambulance retention then?
Yeah,
Okay,
and that was a $20,000 grant that
right,
has to go for payroll, designed for that.
right.
But that's bonus style pay, incentive pay. You can't just put it in salaries, right? And then as far as the bond goes, I just carried that same money over. It won't be that much that we have to pay this year, but I would just bring over $507,284. So, but the work session really helped dive into the itemized cost of the station. So,
And the bond, that's obviously zero. What about 2272? There was remaining funds from the.
yeah, that was the ARPA grant. I'm sorry, I missed that. I skipped over that one. Yeah, 2272 was the ARPA grant money, and that's for expenditures, which was $2,083.08.
That has to go towards salaries though, correct?
Brian, don't we have to return that?
Which one is it?
The
This
one
is-
that has the $2,083 remaining? the
Yes,
ARPA.
that one is getting a return to the state.
Okay.
That,
So you have to
that
appropriate
would
it.
go on to a individual, but he didn't fill his contract.
Okay. So we should not appropriate?
No, you should appropriate it.
We should.
Because I need to send it back.
She needs to take it back
Okay.
out.
The amounts that you read, did you do it to the cents? Here. You have to do it to the cents.
Oh, the 507,
Yeah.
where's my cents? Oh, and two
Two
cents.
And then Mark's is,
Mark's was 600 even. Yep. So that was the only cents I missed, was the 2 cents.
Got it.
That's my opinion on fire.
And that was very close to.
So I guess my question would be, what, for the bond, why wouldn't we just appropriate exactly what we?
Yeah, I need to know what that exact
So
number
it's
is.
375,000 on principal, because I think it's broken out on principal and interest, and the interest payments for this year are 59,560.
So,
Yeah.
we only need one overall total for that, for the.
True, I mean, I was just going by what the breakout
Yeah.
Laura had on, you know, the final appropriations from last year. It was broken out based on premium and
Right.
thing, but our,
The
yeah,
first
our
one's
total bond payments for the year are 434,560 and 80 cents. 434,560, 80.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let me, unless you want to discuss any of the other funds or.
Well, I mean, we're not allocating anything for say, I mean, it's the same stuff, same conversation we've had. I mean, my concerns are we're allocating, what, 800, we're appropriating
Yep.
80, what did I say, 801.
157.
You know, that's everything that we're gonna bring in this year, and it's not allocating anything towards equipment. I
Right.
mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's not sustainable, the course that we're on. You know,
No.
and I know we've started talking about the fire levy, you know, for the fall, you know, but we need to be considering the chance that, you know,
Yeah.
that there's no guarantee that the community accepts that, you know,
Absolutely true.
what are we gonna do
And we do have,
in that situation?
what was the total on that, with both those together, 801
For,
for the general fund?
For the general fund was 801, 157.
yeah,
57 even. And that's
And that-
appropriating everything that we're
right.
anticipating bringing in through
Correct.
taxes and other sources. But it does, we still do have a carryover of 845.7,
Right,
so.
but that also, you know, you have to plan for the potential, you know, there's no guarantee that we get every dollar that we're supposed to get, and we may get more,
Right.
you know, but again, that would be my concern. But I don't know where you make the cuts either, so.
Right, that's the conundrum. So I'm gonna, I'll reread each one of these funds, just so we're all on the same page when we vote on this
Right.
in resolution. Okay, so to recap, general fund, 1,000 will be appropriating salaries of 449,873, and for expenses, 351,284, for a total of 801,157.
And 78 cents
Which side was the 78 cents on?
total.
No, I mean, was that expenses or
Yeah,
salaries?
you can put on expenses.
Okay, 78 cents. For 2191 Marks grant, that was $600 in the expense column, 0 in salaries, for a total of 600.
Mm-hmm.
2272 ARPA, $2,083.08 on the salaries column, nothing in expenses. So the total is 2083.08, and that's to go back to the state.
Yep.
Correct. 2273, the ambulance retention, that's $20,000 in the salary column. That's 20,000 even.
Yep.
0 in the expenses for fund total of 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, the bond retirement, no retirement, 3101, 0 in salaries and in expenses, $434,560.80.
Correct.
Do we have a motion to approve that?
For a grand total, oh, I have it, of $1,258,401.66. Everybody else get that?
No. Did I miss something? Oh, never mind, no, yeah, that's right. Forgot to carry a one.
Want to repeat that one?
Yeah. $1,258,401.66. Waiting on Laura to confirm.
I get 1,258,400.94.
The only change that I had was 78, 08, and 80, correct? Those were the only ones that had change on the end, so you gotta end in a 6.
157.78, and there's a 2083.08, and the 434,560.08.
Oh, 80, 80.
80, okay.
Yeah, the bond is
Okay.
434, 560, 80.
My bad.
All right, well, that explains it. We'll forgive you.
It's pennies. All right, so did you get that number, Chris?
Yes.
Yep.
Grand total, $1,258,401.66.
Yep.
Yep.
Motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, Ty?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
And O'Neill is yes. Adopted as of today. All right, what's that?
Oh, sorry.
Moving to township side. Justin, you have any? We didn't discuss this side in the work session, so.
No, I mean, you know, obviously the biggest question that I would have is just, and it would fall under, you know, what service projects we have planned out, because that's the biggest kind of variable.
Yeah, when I was talking with Rick today, and he couldn't make it tonight, he had a wake to attend, but, I had numbers of 265,000 for salary side and 500,000 for the, expenses side.
Okay.
I think there's going to be some significant work, I think, at one of the cul-de-sacs in your neighborhood.
Yeah, we've got a couple of issues and.
And I don't know how much concrete is, but that's probably gonna be a sizable one.
Okay. So what's that bring your total, I mean, for under road and bridge?
That would be, total for road and bridge would be 765.
Okay. It looks like a pretty good increase over the last couple of years. Do we have something
Well,
bigger going on, or?
As far as the expense side,
Yeah,
just because we appropriate doesn't mean it has
No,
to be used, but
I understand that, but, you know,
you
my.
never know if we're gonna need salt or, it's
Okay.
kind of a.
And that is, I mean, obviously a key component. I mean, appropriations can always be amended as needed.
Right.
My big thing is, you know, part of Laura's monthly reports, you know, are, you know, appropriation status report. And if we over appropriate, it makes it a little bit harder to make sure that we're staying within our budget. I mean, I think we did a nice job on the fire side, appropriating no more than what we have available to us. You know, so that'll keep us at least focused on making sure we're keeping that budget in line. I'd just like to make sure we're doing the same thing on the township side, but I guess it depends on where we're allocating other funds as well. We have roughly $1.4 million to work with on the township side. So,
I mean, we could go with a different number if you. want.
I just,
Yeah, yeah.
That's
it's
your-
just
that's
sh-
your-
Share Justin's number. and-
Based on my discussion
Okay.
with Rick.
I'm fine with that, I just,
Okay.
can you give those to me again one more time?
Yeah, it would be, for salaries, 265,000. For expenses, 500,000.
And we're probably ballparking a little high on expenses, I'm
Probably.
thinking, right?
I mean, enough to have a little cushion if we need it.
Yeah, I got you. All right.
Let's jump back up to general fund, we'll just knock them out in order.
Okay.
I had, I mean, I don't know if you guys have different, I had 175,000 for salaries and 200,000 for expenses.
I'm sorry, Chris, did you say that again?
175,000 for salaries and 200,000 for expenses.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
For a total. How you good with that one?
Yeah,
Okay. Motor vehicle, 2011. Nothing for salaries. And I put 12,000 in for expenses.
yeah, I had 11, you know, our salt comes out of that one as well. That's the permissibles also, and of course, I think this year we'll be okay on salt, but who knows next year, so, I mean, it's just a guessing game with salt, so,
But we're not expected to get any new funds, you know, this year. Laura, is this one that we'd be better off trying to take it to zero? No? Okay. Justin, you have a preference on it?
No, I mean, I'll defer on that one. I mean, that's,
11 or 12?
yeah.
You have 11, Ty?
I had put 11 down,
Okay.
yeah.
It'll be 11 for expenses and 11 total. Gasoline tax. I had 135,000 for expenses.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a little bit lower, you know, just, but it could be a matter of
Yeah.
one fund versus another, because
Yeah.
you're restricted on what you're spending out of
Right.
there anyway, but I had it at around 120.
Yeah, we spent 119,818, I think, out of that fund last year. so-
Yeah, and it was 91 the year before, so, or, I'm sorry, only 48 the year before, so, I mean, it's just a matter of, again, kind of where you allocate those funds.
You had what, one?
I had it at 120, so I mean, it's not like it was a drastically different number than what you had.
You good with 120, Ty?
Yeah,
All allocated to expenses.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're all pretty close, give or take a little bit.
Road and Bridge, Cemetery. I know we spent more last year, we did the columbarium.
Right.
But historically, I think last several years, it's been 2,500, I went back to 2,500. I don't think we have any big cemetery projects on the horizon, and that would all be expenses.
I'm sorry, what was that number?
2,500.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right, Medina Police Department. This one's a little wonky, because last year we paid them, I think, out of two separate funds, but now we're down to just the one, 2081. That would be 0 for salaries. And I think we are instructed to appropriate the entire amount, right?
Correct.
So I would say 472, 495, 99.
And why are we instructed to appropriate the full amount?
The full amount meaning 400, the contract's 400.
Well, that's the contract payment, because that levy is, what was the word, that verbiage they used?
Well, it's restricted, we can't use it for anything else,
Correct.
but, I
But we're
mean,
supposed to appropriate the whole thing, I believe,
Well,
as well.
everything that you receive,
Right,
because it passes through.
right.
So if we're gonna get, or if the contract's 385, 600,
well, yeah, I mean, technically, we're not,
and then you add in whatever the difference is to make it 400,000, that's what you wanna appropriate.
So I'm fine with just doing 400,000, that's what we're,
yeah, because
Under
we're only
contract.
projected to receive 385.6.
Okay.
So appropriate the 4, because that's what the contract
Yeah.
payment will be.
Yep,
for a grand total of 400.
yep, that's what I got.
All right, 2191, this is a little bit of a residual left from, for fire and rescue combination.
Gosh, I thought we expended that one.
We have $455.86. So I've got that under expenses, just to exhaust that.
Yeah, obviously, fine with that.
Okay, 2231, permissive motor vehicle tax. I had nothing in salaries. And 50,000 in the expense column. That's probably one that's varied over the last couple of
Yeah.
years. I think we spent out of that one this year, 133, or just north of that.
Well,
And you've
with the
got it
new
for
salt
50?
bin, we
Right.
filled it up, so,
50,000.
yeah.
I'm okay with it for now. I mean, obviously, once we get all the final numbers together, we may have to make some tweaks anyway,
Yeah.
so. 15 expenses.
For 2272, the coronavirus. um, That one, Laura, that we want to exhaust everything in it, so.
819909, oh. what do you-
819909, yeah, put that in expenses.
All right.
Then the 2273 ARPA, I was going to appropriate the whole thing. It's got to be appropriated by the end of this year, so
Yep.
0 obviously on salaries, and the entire remainder of $230,135.
Yep. I mean, like I said, I think we're gonna have to do some tweaking when we get done with this, but let's at least get the framework together and go
Yep.
from there. You said you had 231 and change.
$230,100.35. Ohio opioid fund, 250174 is what I had in there. That's what we have now, but we're expected to get in 500. That's something we normally donate to.
Back to the county so
County
they
for-
can use it,
Yeah,
because we can't do what they do.
So we appropriate the whole thing, and then we'll worry about what we actually do with it
that's
at a
fine.
different time. But yeah, appropriate the full
Mhm.
3,000
3,000
expenses.
okay.
Or 3,174.
And what's the last one? We have the 41001, the capital projects fund for this building. Obviously 0 on that for salaries and for expenses. Expire, try to exhaust the whole thing, which was 23,133.17. You guys both okay with that one? And then I did not have any more.
What did we have allocated out of ARPA? The ARPA funds, 31?
$230,100.35.
I mean, my only concern is we're appropriating 1.9, almost $2 million off of, revenues this year of 1.45. And I know a chunk of that's the ARPA funds.
Right.
That we need to allocate, but, and it's not necessarily a commitment that we're definitely spending the $2 million. But if we do that, we're eating into carryover from the previous year. And, I mean, we haven't discussed anything, I think that plan-wise that warrants
Right.
eating into that, project-wise.
Correct. And if we can pull back, the big one would be the expenses. I mean, I don't think we can really touch salaries on the other
No,
two
probably
funds.
not.
Just to confirm, your salaries was 175 under general and 265 on road.
Road
right?
bridge,
Yep.
Yep.
right. But I do think we have an opportunity potentially. I mean, again, we can always appropriate additional funds if we need to later in the year, but,
Right.
you know, I think that this is probably appropriating a bigger budget than what we probably want to spend this year.
Well, and I agree, however, what's making it foggy is the 230,000 on the ARPA that we do have to spend, which is
Right,
grant money.
that's half the overage, absolutely.
That's half the overage right there, so, that's what makes it look a little wonky. The only thing that, in my mind, that you could cut down would be, you could take road and bridge down some, in my opinion. I don't know how much the concrete's gonna cost for
Right.
those cul-de-sacs at Hunter's Run, but it's not gonna be cheap, but no one says we have to do all of them
Well,
year
and-
one anyway.
And like I
right?
said too, I mean, if something pops up where it's a big project that we need to, and we need to allocate more funds, then we
right,
do.
yeah.
But I think, you know, if we try to maybe, even if we can pull down an extra 200,000 total somewhere, you know, and I don't know, realistically, I think, you know, maybe we can take maybe even 150. I mean, can we
Let's,
take 50 out of general? Can we get away with 150 in general expenses, in the general fund expenses,
very possible. Last year, we spent 136,
you know?
so yeah.
So maybe pull that down to 150 and pull, you know, road and bridge down to 400, at least get us a little bit closer to,
Yeah, I was thinking road and bridge at 400. Cause it's gonna be a little lighter year, other than those full depth concrete.
and again, this
houses.
isn't, you know, just so that everybody knows too, this isn't, you know, we've definitely spent this money or not spent it or not approved a plan. It's just to give us the framework for how we manage the money that we have and helps us with that process throughout the year.
I'd rather go 25 on the general fund and give me 25 somewhere else.
What do you mean, go,
To do 175 on the general fund and maybe drop the gas tax down to 95, cause I think that's
That's
what,
true, and we're
I think
not-
that's what we spent last year
I think a
anyway.
lot of that gas tax was.
on the gas tax
Right,
last year?
right, and we had to buy a bunch and we're full.
Yeah, gas tax was 120 last year and only 50 the year before, so.
That's where my head's at.
Okay.
Chris, you got an
I'm
opinion?
good with either one of those. You are getting down to,
Yeah, all right, so 175.
For
on
general.
the- For general,
400 on road and bridge?
400 on road and bridge, and then, what did we say, 95? Yeah, 95 on gas.
Okay, so we still get our 150 cut, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm okay with this.
Okay.
I think that will work.
Okay, then I'll recap these here. Laura, you want to add them?
Sure.
For general fund, 1,000, we have salaries of 175,000 and expenses of 175,000 for a total of 350,000. For 2011 motor vehicle, $11,000 in expenses. That's the total. 2021 gasoline tax would be $95,000 in expenses for a total of 95,000. Road and Bridge, 2031 would be $265,000 in salaries and $400,000 in expenses for a grand total of $665,000. 2041 Cemetery, the expenses of $2,500 and a fund total of $2,500. 2081 Police, $400,000 in expenses. Fund total will be the same. 2191 Fire and Rescue, that would be $455.86 out of expenses only. 2231 Permissive Motor Vehicle, $50,000 in expenses. 2272, the coronavirus. $8,199.09 out of expenses, and that would be the total. 2273 ARPA would be $230,100.35 for expenses only. My opioid fund would be $3,001.74 expenses. And the safety services building 4101 would be $23,133.17. Did you add that up?
Yeah.
Or you
Oh,
got it?
I'm sorry, I
Oh,
just
I thought you were
verified my
checking.
chicken scratches, sorry. You need the total?
She's adding it up, I just figured
I
you
got-
I thought
guys
you
arrived at the same.
1,838,390.21.
That's the overall total?
Yes.
Yeah. We split the difference.
So that, I'm right, that comes out to total salaries of 440,000 and total expenses of $1,398,390.21 for a grand total of $1,883,390.21.
It's about 120 to 150,000 more than what we spent the last 2 years. So if we work off that number, we're at least
Same.
keeping it in line, hopefully.
Yep.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
I would move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote. Ty?
Yes.
Justin?
Yes.
I'm a yes also, so resolution is adopted. And that's all we had on the docket for the special meeting, so I would make a motion to pay the warrants of the township and adjourn.
Well, I mean, I don't have a problem. Do we want to see if anybody's got any questions? I mean, we can, as long as it's on the appropriations.
Yeah.
Anybody that came out,
Sure.
yeah, have a problem with it. I don't know if anybody does, but
I'd be curious why you guys are donating the money from opioid back to the sheriff's office. Your contract is with Medina City, and I know somebody that was on the previous board said that all the townships agreed to do that. That is never the case, that has never been the case. Most of the townships keep that money, and it's my opinion that that money should go to Medina City Police, who is handling the police contract and the police services.
I mean, tonight we appropriated it, so we haven't made a commitment one way or another with what we're gonna do with it, so. And
Yeah,
I won't speak for the other two, but I mean, we'll definitely take that into consideration before we make a decision
I
on what to
agree.
do with those funds.
Thank you.
anyone else? Ty, you got anything else?
No, no. No, I don't.
Yeah,
Then I would make the motion to pay the warrants of the township and adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. It is 7:15.
$7.15.
I thought all the questions were for the appropriations, but I have a question. Earlier this month, we discussed finding a place to reap some benefit from the bond money. Someone had brought up STAR money. Has anything been moved on that?
We'll discuss that March meeting,
Yeah.
regular meeting.
March? Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're just restricted on, with it being a
Okay.
special meeting, the
Okay,
subject
fine.
matter at it, but, yeah.